name is Amy Rose White. Today, I want to talk to you about some of the lesser known, but extremely, if not most important, top 3 red flags for identifying if you are in an emotionally abusive relationship. For our purposes today, we're mainly going to be talking about intimate partnership relationships, someone that you're dating or in a serious relationship with, maybe even live with, could possibly be married to. However, a lot of the things that we're going to discuss today are also applicable to friendships, experiences with coworkers, and even your boss. So what's really important about these top 3 red flags is that they're all about you and your physical experience. And that's where our truth lies. That's where the seat of our intuition and what is our story that is true for us and our experience, what our heart is saying and experiencing, what our needs are, what our values are, that's where that lies in our physical experience. So the very first one that we tend to ignore is a change over time as we're with someone in our mood and our confidence level. If you are finding that you were in a pretty good place when you got together with this person, started dating, got more committed, that you felt generally confident about yourself, maybe you'd done some healing from prior relationships, maybe your career is going well, maybe you're just kind of generally feeling okay about you. If that changes over time and starts to decrease and you're feeling less and less like the confident, happy, cheerful you that you used to be, that is not a good sign. What that tends to indicate is that there's something about the nature of the relationship that is dragging you down or draining your energy and having you question yourself rather than building you up and to a space where you can continue to focus on the best aspects of yourself and what's working about you and your life. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the growing sense, because these are patterns over time. I should pause here. All of us can be abusive to each other at one time or another, but what causes long-term emotional abuse is just that it's a pattern that's chronic. It continues to drag you down and undermine you and result in more of the things we're going to talk about today. So if you're walking on eggshells most of the time and feel that you just can't get it right for your partner, that you have to say things in exactly the right way or avoid certain subjects or not complain or always be in a good mood or never question them about anything that they talk about, that is also a potential sign of emotional abuse. What it means is that that person is doing something on their end to control and manipulate your behavior so that you know that their love and connection and approval is contingent on you making sure they feel okay all of the time and not touching on their defenses and not bringing up things that will make them feel uncomfortable or presenting in such a way that they basically feel in control. That's the nature of what we're describing here, is that when we walk on eggshells, we have slowly become under the control of another person by virtue of the way they are chronically responding to us. That makes us feel unsafe and unsure of the relationship and unsure where it's going or if we're going to be loved and accepted and okay. And some other examples of what might cause a person to walk on eggshells are, it could be subtle. It doesn't mean you're going to be yelled at or called names. Those are some of the overt examples. But it could be more like the person the next day after you have a hard discussion where maybe you ask them about something from their past that was bothering you, or question them about a lie, or told them that you were feeling insecure and then they somehow twisted that and made that about their insecurities. That maybe in the few hours later or days or even weeks or months, because I've seen that happen quite a bit, they will withdraw just a little bit, like not want to have sex as often, or not ask you questions about yourself and how your day was, be more silent, just sort of subtly withdrawn, start to be grumpy for no good reason that they can identify. Maybe they start to find fault with little things that you're doing. So basically, you get the message that immediately after a more revealing or honest conversation, or it could be anything. It could be maybe you said, "Oh, I like that shirt on you today," and they somehow took offense to that, that you're going to be punished basically in some way. So that leads us to number 3. The big 3 red flag is when you're experiencing that on a regular basis, your body will be impacted at every level of your endocrine system. What I mean by that is your lizard brain, that's back here, is the fight, flight, freeze, fawn center of the brain, starts to feel unsafe all the time. And its job is to make you sense whether you're safe or not. Its job is to look around the environment for danger. Is there going to be some bad, terrible thing that's going to happen to me? How do I survive? Lizard brain doesn't care if you're happy, just cares that you live. So it's perceiving whether, although in this case we hopefully are not talking about imminent physical violence, it's sensing whether we are loved, whether this is a trusting space, whether we can authentically show up with this person consistently and still be approved of, and better yet, adored despite all of our flaws. And when that lizard brain feels like love will be withdrawn or punishment will be incurred if we don't get it right, it sends cortisol and stress hormones throughout your body and brain that ultimately will make you sick. I cannot tell you how many people I have worked with in abusive relationships where they didn't identify that there was abuse because there wasn't name calling or physical violence. Yet a lot of these really insidious, more subtly manipulative behaviors were causing their body to be on such hyper alert around fear of abandonment that their thyroid gets thrown off, their hormones, other hormones beside thyroid, get all wacky and wonky, that their immune system goes down. We have literature that supports this. This is really a fact that when you're in an unsafe, emotionally unsafe environment for a while, your entire immune system and endocrine system will be affected. So that's kind of a little bit in the later stages, but it doesn't take that long to already see some of the negative effects, which is why emotional abuse is so dangerous. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, yep, all that is happening to me in my intimate partner relationship, here is the short version of what to do. First of all, I want you to know that love, true love, unconditional love, when the connection is true and deep, it does not equal fear and anxiety. A relationship where you are worried all the time about where you stand and what's going on and how do they feel and where is it going and did I say the right thing and why did they suddenly stop texting me after I brought up something that was of importance to me. That is not normal. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the word normal, but maybe I should substitute it with healthy. It's not what I want you to settle for. Don't settle for that. It might be common, but it's not healthy. So there is no reason to muscle through that kind of relationship where you're walking on eggshells and your self-esteem is going down and you're starting to get sick. Do not muscle through that. If it is your inclination to feel that you should and need to muscle through, what that tells me is you probably grew up in an environment similar to this on one level or another. And to you, it feels equitable that love equals hardship and pain. And that's where your healing is. And that's the beautiful thing about being in an emotionally abusive relationship, is that when we realize that we've attracted those relationships into our lives and they're really not working for us, it's simply a huge welcoming into healing the part of us that continues to tolerate that out and maybe even seek it because we're so used to the drama and uncertainty and intensity of that kind of relationship as not very fun and not very sustainable as it is. So I want you to know that there is something more for you on the other side of that very familiar door. You might have lived on or under or next to, you know what I mean, your whole life, there is something more, there is something healthy and safe and trusting and reliable there for you. And the first place that relationship can be found is the relationship you have with you. So the fact that you are willing to notice and question, how am I impacted by this relationship? Are my needs getting met? Is this really what I want for myself? This is the path to self-love that gets you to stop settling for those crummy, emotionally abusive relationships and become really ready and clear for only people, and I'm talking about everyone in your life now, only people that are healthy enough to communicate with you in a reciprocal, safe, reliable, consistent way. And they do exist. I promise you, they do. The last thing that I would say is, if you notice that this is true for you, one of the biggest hardships will be creating in you a tolerance for the grief of walking away. And I know that that is not easy. I've been in several of these kinds of relationships myself. But here's my final question for you. When you think about walking away from someone who isn't safe, isn't willing to see that these patterns are a problem, see how they're impacting you, and work in a very committed way in therapy, in workshops, with books to change it. Because if there's any hope in changing it, it's going to require all three of those things. If that person isn't consistently willing to shift that, then it's up to you to say, who am I really in love with? This person or the idea of them? And a wise mentor once told me that you can only lose what you value and is real. And if you look at emotional abuse, it doesn't make the cut for what you need and deserve. So you haven't really lost anything. You've just lost the fantasy of that person one day meeting those expectations around what you need and desire. And I hope that that helps you build your tolerance for grief to walk away from the relationships that don't serve you. I know that this is a tough one to tackle. Please reach out in your community to someone that you can talk to, a counselor, a trusted therapist, or coach, to work through the process of walking away from abuse and recognizing what's happening in you, because you deserve the best. No less. I wish you well. Until next time, may you be happy, may you be safe, may you be at peace.